Father asking myself, 32 meters, and all of my siblings to do an ancestry test just for the fun of it. Morning all. Went to bed with this on my mind, woke up with this on my mind. I don't get it, this emo is clearly a paternity test. After 32 years he's now, covertly, questioning whether or not I'm his son. Granted, the part of me that wants to give him the benefit of the doubt is that me and my siblings mostly have different mothers, but then logic kicks back in by suggesting that he cared not for my mother for 31 years. I'm not sure how to feel at the moment, and I apologize if my writing is without much of a point. It hurts considering I just got married and we just had a baby boy. I'm not sure what to write or think. I feel like part of my identity is at stake. I refuse to entertain the thought that my mother, who I love dearly, would hide something like this from me. I don't want to go there, but the realist in me can't help but to tiptoe around that idea. It just hurts/sucks. Too long didn't read. Father, emo, trying to do a covert paternity test at the age of 32 under the guise of a fun ancestry in a family kit. Not sure how to feel. I know plenty of people that don't want to do a DNA test for privacy's sake. Can just use that reason and say no. I dunno, Dad, that doesn't sound like fun. I don't really get why it's a secret or something you have to delicately navigate. What about Dad? It sure seems like you're wanting a paternity test for all your kids without actually just saying that. The whole thing is fucking with my head. Talk to me here, what's actually going on? I would make him ask outright. Don't hand your DNA over to those services so he can avoid a difficult conversation. It's possible he's not your father and that your mother is hiding nothing. Dating conception has gotten better, but 32 years ago the medical/science options were far less of what they are now, and it was basically based on when she stopped menstruating, when she tested as pregnant, what she self-reported as the probable date, and then the conception date is actually rolled back to the first missed period. It's quite a bit of info and is generally correct, but there are all sorts of reasons the dates could have been wrong from go. It's also possible that he has no doubt about your paternity, but, again, to avoid hard conversations, he wants all the siblings to do it. BC he has reason to expect maybe only one who isn't you and doesn't want to tip his hand. He also might think you or one of your siblings, or someone on yours maternal side, committed a crime and wants the DNA on record so Paraban Labs can find it. Refuse the ancestry test on privacy grounds. And you can see how he reacts, or you can even bring it up. Is there another reason why you wanted to see the results of our combined genetic data? If he admits he was trying to do a covert DNA test, ask if he is specifically wondering about you being his child. If he says yes, I would do a private DNA test to either set your mind at ease, or if it goes the other way, to at least know the truth. Just say you don't feel comfortable with the idea, and refuse to do it. He might probe what about it makes you uncomfortable. Well, you don't have to say how or why you feel as you do. Your DNA is your own private information. Removed. He dropped his best friend and I feel awful. For reference, we are all in our mid-30s. My BF and I have dated for 3 years and lived together for 1. He has been her best friend for longer than he knew me, but I'm not sure how long. In the beginning he was open about his friendship and they hung out sometimes. His family all told me she was a great girl and that I'd really like her. Then we finally met and she was okay. I felt a little jealousy, but she's a very huggy person and was so excited to see my BF like over the top. But it's his close friend and I pushed that feeling aside because all I had heard was great things and I want him to have happiness. They hadn't hung out in a bit and I can be the same way when I miss my friends. I don't ever see that girl physically again. When we move in together is when I realize that they text and talk all day every day. And they only use Snapchat to talk. From what I've seen it's very emojis and selfies mostly. He did show me some of their chats and a couple of them were I love you so much and miss you. Which I tell my female friends, but I would feel so weird doing that with a male. Is that weird? So we talk about it and I do get very upset. I ask him how they met and I get radio silence. I ask if they ever slept together and he blows up, telling me how disgusting the thought of that is. I feel like an asshole and leave it alone. But I can't leave it alone because they continue talking every day, and every time his phone goes and I peek, just at the screen not open it, it's her. Also during this time he feels so distant and he says it's because he feels like I'm always watching him now or I don't trust him. Also I feel why would he get so upset and not just tell me the truth. I ask him to invite her to join us to places, I end up actually asking her directly to hang out. But that failed, and the one time she wanted to hang out he made other plans for us that day, and that was that. He said it was weird of me to ask her since I wasn't really her friend and she thinks I hate her. I don't think he ever understood how much I really just wanted to get to know this girl. The other girl who he can tell everything to, and cares about enough to talk to every day. I don't even care so much about them talking so much. I care more that he always kept things about her secret and would go to the bathroom like 10 times an hour with his phone. I don't even know one regular hobby or thing they did as friends. Not even one funny friendly story. Anyway, eventually I do find out elsewhere that they did in fact sleep together in the beginning of their friendship. Multiple times, but it was more FWB than a relationship. I keep this inside and then bring it up to him after she's texting him again and he gets so upset. He said he never told me because he knew I wouldn't like her from the beginning if I knew. He said he didn't want to have to stop being her friend. And I even told him then now things are all out in the open, and I'm not mad at her. I'm mad you lied about her and made it weird. So then he told me he's going to block her on everything and just ignore her forever. Which makes me feel and look like a total asshole, especially to the one girl I really wanted to have as a friend. He said she was really upset at him for ghosting her and that I should know how badly this hurt her. I told him I wanted to talk about this because I never wanted him to ditch her as a friend, just let me be her friend somewhat too. But he told me he never wants to speak about this again. Should I reach out to this girl and apologize, or should I try to bring it up again? I feel like sick from how awful their friendship ended. I feel like I have a lot of apologizing to do and I just don't know where to start. Has anyone been in this situation? TLDR, he dropped his closest friend for me and I feel awful. You have nothing to apologize for. He deceived and lied to you. You tried to be her friend and hang out, but she and your boyfriend didn't want that. He's going to the bathroom and probably texting her. I don't see one single thing you did wrong. Now he's going to guilt you about this. I would really question whether I would want to be in a relationship like this. Good luck. Don't worry, he'll be messaging her again soon. I bet he will be extra nice and lovey towards you for a week or two. But it won't last and you'll be right back where you started with him and her. You should stop falling for his shit and dump him. He's lying, he's lying, he's lying. Serious money that he has not cut contact with her. Like, I could not be more sure about anything. Sure. He's blocked her on public social and she's done the same to you. But that's part of the plan to make sure you can't verify he's cut contact. The very fact that his entire relationship with her is off limits to you should have been the end of your relationship with him. When you are important to someone, they should want to share you with the people that they care about. Similarly, as the friend, you want to know the person your friend has picked as their so. Instead, you have the Great Wall. It's not normal, it's not okay. My ex did something very similar. I let it slide because he, like your partner, gaslight me into believing I was crazy. He ended up emotionally and sexually abusing me for the next 3 years. It's a red freaking flag. Personally, I would run. Ha ha ha. What the fuck? This took quite the turn at the end. I'm afraid to ask any more questions about your relationship because even this tiny little sliver just gives me the feeling the whole thing is a total nightmare shit show. Like when you go to a friend's house and they say it's a little dirty and they haven't cleaned up in a while and you open the door and it's like an episode of Hoarders and a wall of stacked magazines falls on your head. Your boyfriend lies to you for years about this friend, basically conducts an emotional affair under your nose, finally gets caught in the lie, does what he should have done literally years ago, makes you feel bad about something he did, and you feel like you need to apologize to everyone. What the fuck? You're probably going to brush this off as /r/relationships doing its /r/relationships thing and overreacting, but seriously. This whole thing just drips with red flags. So many. You sound like someone competing for doormat of the year. Your boyfriend is like the gaslighting champion. Assholes everywhere probably come to him for advice on how in the world he can turn something where his is objectively completely in the wrong and spin it around so his girlfriend feels terrible and starts pricing out edible arrangements to send out as an apology. Gross. I would say run, but I seriously doubt you're in a place to even listen to that advice. You still like this creep, so you get my second tier discount. Not at all perfect advice, which is don't apologize. Nobody you could apologize to wants to hear your apology. What's done is done. Take the win and move on. I'm not religious, but I'll make an exception and pray for you. Yeesh. My best friend, F, seems incredibly unhappy that I'm, M, in a relationship. M. One of my best friends, F, seems incredibly unhappy that I'm, M, in a relationship. M. I'm in my late 20s, gay, and have long been close friends with a girl from school, Emma. Emma has been in a relationship with a guy, James, for almost a decade now. I'd largely been single over that time. A few years ago James went into a deep depression. He's since become antisocial, doesn't like her friends coming over, and I basically never see him unless I'm at their house. On the rare occasions that he's home while I'm there, he'll make the quickest excuse he can to go into the other room, but more often than not I suspect he consciously stays away while I'm there. I don't know if he specifically takes issue with me or just doesn't want people around generally. I assume the latter or a mix. When I'm there and James is home, there's always a fixed tension in the air when I try to make small talk. The vibe always feels like she's instructed him to stick around and converse for a few minutes to be nice, moments before I arrived. But she acts like there's no issue. It's reached the point where Emma's friends invite me to things as her +1, instead of him, birthdays, weddings, other social events, because we have similar personalities and genuinely enjoy these sorts of gathering, while, according to Emma, James would prefer not to attend. I feel this is an issue for them behind closed doors, but Emma never talks about it anymore, and says all is great between them. About a year ago, I entered into a serious relationship with a really great guy. All of my friends love him, except Emma. She's polite but very reserved around him, which is so out of step with her personality, and he finds her difficult and uncomfortable to talk to as a result. She also makes a lot of snide remarks to me about the relationship. She had a negative response when we moved in together, asks abrupt, inherently negative questions about him like, so does he have any friends? He's naturally very outgoing and friendly. It was an odd thing to ask, and was disapproving when I said we were saving for a house, making some off-the-cuff remark about the dangers of couples buying a place before they're ready for it. She rarely asks about him and hasn't once invited him to an event or expressed an interest in seeing him since the initial meeting. At the start, when I tell her about a minor fight or argument we had, she'd fixate on it months after it had passed, bringing it up in conversations later with faux concern. It's reached the point where I don't want to tell her anything personal about us, which leaves me with generic small talk. I don't know if her comments about my relationship stem from feeling betrayed that I'm less available as her fill-in partner at events, whether she's jealous that we met relatively late in life, while it seems the person she met 10 years ago is no longer the person she's currently with, or whether there's simply some glaring dislikable trait in my partner that I'm unable to see. I'd be open to this, but not one of my other friends act like this, and he's very integrated into their lives, etc. I know I need to bring it up with her, if only to say her comments are kind of shitty and that I feel like I can't talk to her about my life anymore. But I want to understand where her head is at, and I don't want to potentially damage the friendship either. She tends to go on the defensive a lot, particularly over her partner, and I'm just at a loss for how to approach it. Too long didn't read. I'm in a new relationship and a close friend of mine is disapproving. She's been in a much longer relationship that's soured, and I'd always been her stand-in at her social events.